possible. So I think for us, we've already been informed that the CORD is ready to come and meet with us and give us the statement. So we are still waiting to hear from CORD, but I think even as a commission, we will sit and decide on the next course of action. And I would very much welcome what my sister Millie has said, that we can now sit, have a round table where all the parties can sit and we try and diffuse the tensions, because we cannot go with these same tensions to the elections.
Yes, but Millie and Lillian are telling me that we'll have a meeting, there'll be a structure, you're doing feedback. My worry is these discussions are happening now.
Yes.
Yes.
The clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Mugambe is telling me, I need to see resolutions being made. My worry is Mwananchi is getting anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So your turnaround time is not working for me. Both your institutions,
Louis,
your turnaround time is not working for me.
It has just happened. And remember, today actually, we've been expecting the CORD Alliance to come, the CORD Coalition, to come to our offices for discussions on this issue.
So did they?
But nobody came so far. So I think we may have to be proactive and take it to the next level, where we now ensure that we bring the parties together so that we can dialogue for the sake of the nation.
How would you help Lillian?
In my view, this is it. They actually have the mandate, the legal constitutional legal mandate to be the referee.
Right.
You can actually summon these people, all of them, at pain of even disqualification. Sometimes we have to go there with people for them to realize their boundaries. And I'm not saying that court have done a wrong thing. What I'm saying is, even for them, in my view, what they need to do is substantiate what they have said. And we also do need the head of the civil service, the people who are accused, in that room. There's a need to have that dialogue, all of them. But I think Lillian was very clear. Everyone must submit to the mandate and authority of the IEBC.
So that's
they should summon all of them.
That's IEBC.
Yes, should summon all of them. And another thing I think they need to do is help Jubilee step back a bit. Because what Jubilee is then saying is that they've accepted defeat. No one is talking about defeat here. People are talking about a historical fact that has happened. The civil service has always been engaged in electoral politics, in parochial party. It's been a historical fact. We're trying to detoxify that. I think what you do is the IEBC becomes tough on this one. But you can be tough.
What can Millie do? What can NCIC do?
And Millie is part of, I think, her mandate, and the way it weaves in with IEBCs is complementary.
Yes.
It's exactly complementary. So Millie can actually sit there, because she's asking, was there an element of incitement or hate speech? Because her mandate is not just hate speech.
Which has never been defined satisfactorily all around.
But you see,
we have tried to define what hate speech is.
Why are you still trying, Millie? How old is your institution?
No, it is because it is a technical term. We know the literacy levels throughout the country. It is something that even amongst the legal fraternity, we would have an engagement in trying to work out a working definition. But we have taken that first step in getting people to talk about hate speech as something. That's good. We are now going to keep publishing some of the findings that we've had in the complaints that have been presented before us, and that publication is going to help people see the definition of hate speech as we see it. In addition to that, we have engaged in a lot of conversations with different parties, different partners, to try and work to get a common understanding amongst us, for example, with the DPP, with the judiciary, with the police, the key players as far as prosecution is concerned, with the media, who play a key role in highlighting such instances, in forming a common definition for what hate speech entails. But you know, Kenyans like to run a little faster than the law. So we have this law that is defining its hate speech and tries to limit it to ethnic and religious, racial contempt, because freedom of expression is something that is so key. You do not want to expand too much the space within which you're limiting it. But now we're in campaign mode, and people would like, for example, you remember during the selection of the commissioners to the Land Commission, there were certain utterances about one of the potential commissioners that people thought was hate speech, and they said that is hate speech. People are saying things about women because of the position that people have placed them in, the gender roles that society has given them. And women are saying that is hate speech. So people want to define every single thing as hate speech that needs to be dealt with under the NCI Act.
So, Millie,
But that
I
is
put
not
it
the
to you
case.
that we are 13 days to go. We are all praying as much as possible that it goes well. But should there be any form of adversity, then you're still heading us towards this countdown under a cloud of ambiguity.
No, we are not, because the fact that Kenyans know that there's hate speech, we've been monitoring. We are not the only ones monitoring. A good percentage of civil society is monitoring, as well as other government departments and other independent institutions. And it is clear amongst all the monitors that hate speech amongst the politicians has gone down. In fact, our concern as a commission right now is with the people of Kenya, who seem to be showing intolerance. Look at what happened in Homa Bay, for example, during the campaign rally there. Look at what happened in Embu. We are saying that Kenyans must also move that extra step that we are asking the leaders to, so that we are able to engage in these lively conversations.
Mugambi talks
and
to
move
them
forward.
quite a bit in his capacity. As what would you
Yes.
have him do to now further that discussion, Millie? What can he do then?
I think it would be good if Mugambi would get the people to understand that we need to allow space for democratic space to work. People need to allow ideas to flow. You need to listen and treat with contempt those that you think need to be treated that way. Take in the ones that are useful to you, so that then you go to the ballot. After all, as a country, we have still not gone back to Mlolongo. It's still a secret. At the end of the day, it will be you and the number of different papers that Lillian will give you to go and put in there. So it's important that Wananchi learn that, and they stop showing their emotions or playing their emotions on the sleeve, so that we can engage in politics in a mature manner.
Actually, Louis, if I may come in here.
Yes.
Just 2 points. First of all, just to hark back, just to finish up on that question that was around the CORD statement about the head of the civil service. One of the other rules that it serves to do, if they're summoned, and not just CORD, but the head of the civil service, is that it becomes very clear that everyone, there's no one who's above the law, there's no one who's above the institution of the referee. So that if you're the head of the civil service, if you've been doing or been engaging in some shenanigans, you know it ends here. If you're the head of the armed forces, you know it ends here. That you need a crystal clear message that no one can play games and think they're above or outside that sphere. I think that's an important point.
And then Kenyans need to get that message.
We need to get that message. That
Yes.
this time, the referee says stop, we stop. Referee says left, we go left. It is no longer, oh, you know, we see, because we've got this habit of trying to argue your corner and trying to argue your point to the point of destroying the authority of the IEBC. I think that needs to be
So
very
we are
clear.
poor losers.
The poor losers. But you see, this is another point, I think, on that second point about Kenyans, which Millie raised about intolerance. Listen, when your Inspector General of Police says, let's not talk about land, it shows an intolerance, however emotive it is. Is this a question that must be resolved as a political issue? Is it a governance issue? It is. That's why actually, it's one of the key issues that everyone is talking about. What's the land policy for each? If we say we're not going to discuss it, then why are we having these elections? If we say we don't want opinion polls, what is the freedom of expression about for us to know what other Kenyans are thinking? I mean, we've invited Mutahi Ngunyi, who's done the tyranny of numbers. We've invited him to come and debate us because we think it was unscientific, it was voodoo math. But we don't say, do not say. We say, come we debate.
So say what you may,
Say what,
but allow it to be tested.
allow it to be tested. And so that's what we're saying. So if from the top, if your leadership, if your head of the NCIC is saying, let's not talk about land, what message are you sending about tolerance of an idea you don't like to the bottom? Remember, power hierarchies in Kenya have been the top normally is the one that sets the agenda.
Right.
So we must set this agenda that tolerate divergent views. And I've kept on saying this. I don't think the Jubilee ticket is a fantastic ticket because of the IC question. They should tolerate my position. I should tolerate the fact that there are major stakeholder in these elections. They're actually one of the two leading horses.
So if I take you back to the referee question, are you happy with IEBC as a referee?
I would wish they understood how much power they have.
I want to take a break on that note. Did I catch you mid-sentence?
Yes, I was just about to start something, if I can.
Hold the thought. Because I need to know if I have a fair referee when I come back. Is this referee recognized? Is this where we want to be? But we're just trying to understand, are we getting excited about the wrong sentiments? And is there a way we can calm ourselves down and ask the right questions and challenge the right things as we go towards the election? This and more Newsline after this break. Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. Tonight, we're discussing roles, we're discussing preparedness. As the countdown continues, we're getting ever so closer to the election date. Should we approach with apprehension or excitement of exercising our democratic right? As usual, I like to spend time with Mshamba on his diary. Let's see what he lined up today.
Hey, mtozi bwana anatuweka hapa hata hatupatii kitu.
Wachana na
Wewe umejipangaje hii siasa, hii mambo ya election?
mambo ya kura. Mimi nikienda pale kuchapa kura, nikiingia pale tu nione zile mapicha vizuri, na hapo unajua ameweka sura za watu.
Yes.
Mimi nikiangalia tu wifi, huyu ni ule alikula CTF. Kama ni yeye na mshuko alikula CTF naeka X.
Yaani umpendi?
Simpendi. Kama ni mtu ambaye nashuku, naweka alama ile ya nini, question mark. Kama simchui vizuri naeka dot. Na nikiona nipate wameweka watu ambao siwachui, watu ambao ni watu wapaya, na ule mmoja najua, naweka X kwa watu watatu na tick ule mtu napenda.
Wacha nikuambie kwa Kisungu, that is the most careless statement I've ever heard. Hiyo ndio umepoteza kura yako yote.
Hapana.
Hiyo ukifanya ukiweka X tick nini yote kwa hiyo box umewapikia kura.
Wacha nikwambie,
sisi tumekataa mtu.
Sisi ndio walimu na wale wanasiasa hao ndio wanafunzi. Sisi ndio tunaamua.
Wacha nikwambie.
Wewe ukipanga ache kwanza, wacha mambo mingi.
IPC inafaa ikuje kwako kufanyia road show.
Ya kasikani.
Ikuje kukufunza wewe. Wewe hujui kitu unafanya.
Wanafunza mtu msasi. Wewe umekipanga ache.
Mimi? Mimi nimejipanga.
Vipi?
Hai. Na kula kote.
How?
Niko na t-shirt 8.
Sakasikani.
Niko na t-shirt ya coat, niko na ya Jubilee, niko hata na ya Tita.
Tita hata ana rangi ya chama.
Hapo tu.
Ana rangi ya chama.
Si ndio nimetengeneza sura yake tu hapo kwa t-shirt. Tuko pamoja hapo tu. Mimi nakwambia, ukiona kote wamekucha na mkutano yao, mimi niko mbele. Kule 150. Nikiona Jubilee wamekucha, niko mbele. Ni nyinyi tu napewa.
Mshamba.
Nikiona UTF wamekucha Amani, mimi niko huko.
Mjamba. Unasikianga voters primary? Ndio hiyo, utashikwa.
Kushikwa nini?
Unajua anashika hata ule mtu anapokea pesa. Na ule anapeana.
Acha.
Utashikwa.
Acha. Kwani mimi niliwaomba? Si walinipa kwa mapenzi yao.
Na mshamba uko na vote.
Kwenyewe sina hata kati.
Na sasa unasumbua watu nini? Unaenda kwa mkutano za watu na hata una kura.
Sasa si lazima nikuleko.
Utashikwa.
Welcome back. I think I'll go straight to Lillian.
Yes.
Talk to my two friends there. What would you tell them?
Well, your two friends just reflect what is happening on the ground. And it just points to the fact that there is really inadequate information about voting, the whole process, and what is expected on the 4th of March. Shamba seems to have some idea, but at some point, well, in terms of voting process, he may have some idea. But
Even
on the,
he doesn't even have a voter's card.
Yes.
But he seems to know
he
about the
seems
X's
to have
and
an
the ticks.
idea, yes. But again, in terms of the offenses, he's really not aware that they are offenses.
So are you confident, just in terms of the layer of the, for example, even just the colors, but if you were to ask the colors that are appropriated. Are you confident that that clarity is now out there? Or to a certain percentage, more than less, that people will know what to do?
Well, so far, yes, I'm confident that people will know, because, of course, getting those colors took a lot of time and discussions within IEBC, because we didn't want to get the real primary colors which were going to coincide with any party colors. So we had to go for the pastel colors. And that is why the ballot papers, the colors of the ballot papers correspond with the colors of the lead. And this is just to address the question of illiteracy all around the country. People not understanding that for the presidential ballot, this is what you'll need to do. So I think just to give a little education here, the presidential ballot box and the ballot paper, the lead of the ballot box will be white.
White
or
for
is
the president.
white for the president. And for the governor, it is blue and the paper is blue. For the member of parliament, it is green. For the senator, it is yellow. For the woman representative, it is purple. And for the county assembly ward representative, it is beige. So for those who are colorblind, they may actually get assistance from our personnel on polling day on how to cast that ballot paper.
I'm sorry, but already there's a problem with when you say colorblind and colors.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
the ever-ending, or never-ending, actually, never-ending contest about the colors that Mugambi will see and what Millie will see. I don't know if they both see beige and yellow as the same thing.
Actually, an anecdote was when they were testing these colors, I think in the Coast province, it was discovered the men were more colorblind than the women, because the men seem not to know how to use the ballots so how that works out for me as a scientific exercise, purely as it would be very interesting to see again gender roles, generational roles, digital versus analog, how it all works out.
Beiges, and then there's mauve somewhere there. And
in all fairness, it's a plus that at least the leads match the color of the paper.
Okay, I caught you mid-sentence. What
Yes.
were you going to say?
Earlier on, I wanted to say that I think it is important. There's a point that I didn't want us to miss then, that we cannot pretend as a nation that things are business as usual. These things are different. And when people say, like the chairman of NCIC did, like the IG did, asking people to be a little bit more cautious when they're talking about certain issues, my understanding is not that the intention is to gag. The intention is that we should not leave raw emotions that would leave prime room for deviant people in society to come and again sway those people to get into violence. If you must talk about certain things, please close it, some closure. Remind people that there are solutions and you have the answers. You're able to apply those solutions. But when you leave things very raw, then people keep, like it's very related to what I'm saying now about the issues that were raised by CORD. I'm saying that it would be important for the same wananchi who have seen these issues being raised to get the answers from an independent body such as IBC, saying we've talked to these people and this is our way forward. This is what we see as having happened and this is our suggestion as to the way forward, and that is discussed with as much valor in the press as the statements that were made earlier is done, so that people are able to debate in a balanced way and so that emotions are not roused.
Has Lillian done enough to be a referee we should be comfortable with?
Yes, I think that IEBC have tried. Since they came in, they have tried to put systems in place. They have tried to ensure that the processes are adhered to the best of their ability. No institution is perfect. I don't think they have ever claimed that they're perfect, but they are trying. And I think that as a responsible Kenyan, as a person who loves Kenya for real, we should actually be able to hold their hands and give them the benefit of doubt and be able to see that they're trying. I mean, look at even the colors. At least they've given us leads that match the paper.
You're taking us back to more beige and pink.
But, I mean, 2 points.
Mugambi, yeah, as you answered, tell me about Lillian being a good referee. You were not satisfied.
Yes. I think the kind of shenanigans we saw at the primaries, you know, we saw violence, we saw bribery, we saw, you know, people being intimidated, women candidates. Just the other day, some games were going on in the Othaya constituency. Sometimes it's a simple It's as simple as sending a quiet message to a certain party. Behave yourselves. And we don't need to shout about it, but then you can see the impact would be that they actually do behave themselves. I would prefer that IEBC invests a bit more on that kind of tough love on this one, as Millie says, for real, it's not business as usual. It's not everything that goes. You cannot bring me candidates who, the day before, we were seeing storming offices to get nomination certificates. It cannot be that. It really cannot be. And so I feel also for them, because they don't have that kind of capacity to investigate. But where you get these kinds of, especially at the tribunal, where they got all these complaints, I think you want to invest in what are the patterns, which are the parties or the coalitions.
So what can Lillian do more?
She can enforce more. She can actually be more, I think she can be tougher.
So what is missing there? A reluctance or a capacity?
It's not a reluctance or a capacity. I think given the novelty of this exercise, there's a bit of accommodation that we also have as Kenyans. We don't want to be the ones that mess up anything. And so what we're saying is sometimes by letting too many things go, it does allow for too much permissiveness. And so
okay, now say that in English.
Yes. So what we're saying is there must be a line you draw. Draw a line and say, do not cross here. Do that as IEBC. And for real, you'll be respected. No one will come and do what we saw at the primaries.
What do you think, Lillian?
I think, Louis, when we give the example of the primaries, really, I must say IEBC did everything within the law to ensure that whatever process was happening at that time went on smoothly. And you will recall that members of parliament, before it was dissolved, they amended the law right up to midnight of the 18th. And this is what we are saying, without necessarily looking defensive or sounding defensive here. IEBC had to ensure the parties brought in their list by midnight of 18th.
Yeah.
Then remember, we only had 7 days within which to resolve the disputes. And what we did was to allocate 3 days to the parties to use their internal processes to resolve those disputes. But that never happened. They spilled over to our committee.
Hey, Lillian, hang on, just back up. You're telling me this was you saying you have faith in internal party capacity to have resolutions?
Definitely. This is what is envisaged in the new constitution.
Emphasis, yes, but did you actually imagine they would achieve that, in all honesty?
Of course, definitely.
Because
We saw from the chaos.
IEBC and saying,
Yes.
what is all these concessions you keep getting? Okay, you need another hour, take 2. You need,
Well,
you need half a day, take 2 days.
Louis, if you followed the process through, when the 3 days expired on the 21st, we received the list. Then we went ahead with our committee. And remember, the party chairperson and party officials of those concerned of the disputes came to the committee at the Milimani. And it was really embarrassing for the parties that their chairpersons, that their officials, in some cases, just hung up their boots and said, IEBC, make your decision on this case. Because we admit there were chaos within our party processes.
Right.
So that left IEBC to determine, to be the arbiter in the real sense, to call all the parties to court and, of course, adjudicate on the matters. And this is what happened.
We must congratulate IEBC on that, Louis. My point is the following. At the end of this process, is that the perception we got of you as a referee? Because part of it is the messaging. I think you need to understand, yes, there's a legal, technical side to it, which I'm not saying that's not where I am. I'm actually, what is a message that comes out from that? Because what we got as a public, and that's what we is also asking you, is that anything goes. And you need to deal with that. You need to deal with that. You need to deal very, very quickly, because if you don't, then that perception means that during the general election, the everything goes means if I do nonsense and I'm a part of a big coalition.
Unfortunately, remember, even media contributed to that
And
perception.
you need to hold them accountable.
Because by the time the chaos was spilling out of hand within the parties, the media even ran reports that IEBC was not running the nominations properly. Remember, the role of IEBC was to regulate.
To regulate, yes.
But the parties, they caused the chaos, and here there was a public perception being created by none other than the media that IEBC was not carrying out its work.
And Lillian, my
So
point
we
is,
had to issue a statement, a public statement, to clear the roles of IBC in the process
Was that
and
enough?
what was expected
Was that
and
enough?
what was expected of the parties.
Because you're being critical stuff, but
Let me
it's
show you
not
what my
sufficient.
word-
Yes,
No,
but
hang on,
that is
let
why
me-
we gave extra time for parties to
And Millie,
resolve their disputes, which
Millie,
never
you're not
happened.
sitting this one out. But in the meantime, let me just put this up. This is my concern today, and I'll just put that up and show you what I'm looking. Can you see it from there?
Yes.
You can see that? So, just very quickly, as we put that up, and that's what the viewers are looking at now. If you are ready, and if we can do these polls now, and you can come back to us, I just now, with what you're saying, tell me now, if the statements you've made, the action you've taken, if you've given this fellow any peace.
Well, I think, again, I go back to perceptions. If people cry out foul even before they interrogate our systems, and we have given political parties the opportunities to interrogate our systems, what we have in place, then I think we are going the wrong way. Last week on Friday, we had political parties bring their ICT experts to see the kind of systems we have put in place so that they can say, yes, this system we can believe in. But then remember, again, this brings us back to public utterances by the leaders.
I would suggest maybe you need to do something about talking to Mwananchi directly, more than you're engaging with these parties, because what they're doing, they're happy to sit with you, but they will not come out and stand for you when this goes down badly. But like what you're saying now, they had meetings, the ICT guys came and looked at that. What are the chances this guy even knows about those things?
Actually,
what is going to happen? People are going to say IBC didn't do enough. Which brings me to your case, Millie.
Yes.
How then are you preparing to protect this country from this kind of utterances, this kind of tensions, where people are feeling the institutions that we know are not doing enough to protect us from an adversity, sort of? We have people behaving as if they want the country to brace for a particular adversity. How are you helping?
One of the things that we've been trying to do, but it's a very difficult thing to do at a time like now, is to get people to talk about real issues. Just prior to the election period, we were talking about the impact that elections in the past have had on the economy in the country. Every election, to show people that it's a fact, that it has impacted on our economy, it has impacted on how we are able to progress as a nation. But that's not a very exciting topic, so it doesn't catch fire as much as maybe other topics would catch fire.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. But we are trying to show people that look at the reality of it. For example, when it comes to even expecting much of political parties, the truth of the matter is that we know as a country that we have not had political parties as a system. Political institutions or political persons is what we have.
Maybe you need to tell that to Lillian.
I'm getting you.
No, she's referring us to them going back to those guys and saying, work it out, you have the capacity.
So
there's a gap
Louis,
there.
that is what the new dispensation is all about. And that is why political
Honestly,
parties are now public
I
institutions.
hear you, and
They
I
are
can see
accountable
what
to
your
the
rollout
people.
is. But what I'm trying to say to you, Millie and Julie, is I'm worried about is 13 days towards this humongous event, but that knowledge, that patience that you're having, that faith you're having in those institutions is not shared.
And that's why, as NCIC, we are continuously engaging with the faith-based institutions and the peace committees working on the ground with the people on day-to-day basis, not like us who come and go, but the ones who work consistently with the people to monitor, and where tensions are rising, apply the mechanisms that they use on a day-to-day basis to engage those communities in discussions that we hope will diffuse the tensions. We are trying to do our bit.
So you're actually also bracing.
We are trying to do our bit to ensure that citizens remain focused to the fact that Kenya is bigger than this election.
But this is my point, Louis, and I cannot help but reiterate it. The law is a critical piece of this, but it is insufficient. We must engage with society. I think I want to take you from where you left, where for Lillian and for Millie and the institutions, you must reassure that Kenyan you're seeing holding his head that, you know, the world, there will still be a world past March 4th, 2013. I think there's not sufficient investment in doing, that's the first point, that we must message So the same way, you know, you show someone how to vote. So you're telling them, you know, white is for the president. You must go and say, for real, if you see someone bribing, this is the number to call. We must invest in that. But we must also invest in keeping the parties disciplined. So we must not allow them, and this includes the media, you must not allow them to get away with messaging that misrepresents you. You must hold them to account. Because part of the problem is this. Your Friday meeting, where you're discussing the mechanisms of all that, one of the reports says it failed. The systems failed. Now, as Louis is saying, when they walk out of your doors, they're saying something that you're not, that for you is a polar opposite of what your reaction is. So who was heard, you or them?
Because they're not standing up for you. Those politicians are not standing up for you at any one
They actually want to undermine you very clearly for one reason.
Well, unfortunately, our systems didn't fail.
Yes.
But I think the most important thing was the transparency of the process, that the leaders would be able to interrogate the systems and in the process go out to the electorate and tell them, you know, the confidence they have in IEBC.
On this one, actually, we're with you. We're the converted.
Yes.
What we're saying is expand that circle to an extent where you hook this guy so he actually can see. If someone tells him it failed, you say, hey, boy, I saw it.
I saw it, yeah.
Okay.
I think we need to invest in that.
Let me take it back to a citizen's level and wonder, because I do get this discussion quite a bit. Every other second day, there's always something that is challenging your preparedness, that is challenging your capacity, that is challenging your innovative ability to deal with the 4th of March. Why does this happen ever so often? You can't do 7 days clear without getting such a challenge. Is IEBC ready? Why are you constantly being challenged on readiness?
Louis, when I started, I talked about public expectation. We cannot lose sight of where we are coming from. And I think that is why the public has always to interrogate what IEBC is doing. So I would really be concerned if people were not asking, why is IEBC not doing this or that? And I think this has been the trend since we started with the boundary delimitations, and then we came to voter registration. Remember, we did voter registration in only
1 month.
30 days.
1 month.
And we were able to register for 14.3 million Kenyans. So that, again, looked impossible in the beginning when systems, again, were thought to be failing.
Yeah.
But again, we reminded people technology is not always a solution. So we must forge ahead. And we were able to do that. Right now, we are now printing ballot papers. And people ask every day, when are they arriving? How come? What's happening? They'll be rigging. There are all these suspicions and all these, you know, anxiety from the people. So I think I would agree to the extent that we need to manage the public information. How do we get information out there? And media never makes it better. They are always out there to put it in a negative way. So actually IEBC is working so hard to partner with the media to ensure that as we manage public expectation, we give them the proper information. Otherwise, people will be derailed with a lot of politicking, which will cause tension and unnecessary tension for that matter. As we go to this election, it's a historic election. Remember, we are going to have 6 ballots. How come South Sudan, a new nation, was able to go for 8 ballots as a new nation and doing it from diaspora, from here? We saw it and they succeeded. What is so different about Kenya, which already has the infrastructure and we are reforming? We do not have, as a society, a faith in our institutions. Just today, this morning, we were speaking to women aspirants of Nairobi, and they were raising all these issues of women being intimidated, reports being made to the police. And somebody asked the question, is it the same police we are going to? Why same police? When we are having police reforms going on, why can't we have faith in the institutions we have established? I think Kenyans need to realize if the new constitution is to work, they must give it space. Give the institutions space to
That brings me back to Millie.
And
Hang on.
yes.
Millie, how old are you? This institution, how old is your institution?
3.5 years.
Up until now, ambiguity on hate speech. No track record in terms of success in the areas Wananchi have seen. We needed your intervention. You have no victories in terms of areas where Wananchi can say, do not joke. If NCIC gets involved, there will be repercussions?
No, I don't think that that is the case, Louis. I completely disagree. Why I say so is because in 3.5 years, we have moved the issue of hate speech from obscurity to the focus in national conversations. Every conversation today, when it comes to electoral processes, when it comes to public engagement, begins with the term, is it hate speech or is it not hate speech? And that is a big plus. Remember that there are older acts than the NCI Act that have created offenses, and nobody speaks about those offenses.
But
Now,
first, let me just isolate. No, let me just isolate that, so it doesn't become a rambling conversation. Let me just ask you, in your own words, is there a shared clarity on what hate speech is?
Yes, there certainly is. The key institutions that are expected to prosecute or to deal with criminal prosecution of hate speech have a common understanding. We have engaged the judiciary, we have engaged the DPP, we have engaged the police, so that the investigative capacity of police is widened as far as investigating hate speech is concerned. We have actually learned from lessons from cases that the DPP has successfully taken to court. Again, it is so important, Louis, that Kenyans remember that NCIC does not have the power to prosecute.
Right.
We are supposed to be the technical experts as far as identifying elements of hate speech is concerned. And we have done that, I think, to perfection. We have actually clearly helped the police to identify the elements of hate speech, to develop a manual and train over 2,000 police officers on how to use that manual and how to identify and investigate hate speech. We have actually partnered with the DPP to show them some of the material, to produce some material and set standards for cases for prosecution of hate speech. That is what is expected of us, and we have managed to do that. Kenyans expect us to prosecute. The law does not give us the mandate to prosecute. Once we investigate, we forward the file to the DPP for prosecution, because that is the constitutional office with the mandate to prosecute. We have also constantly engaged in learning processes. In 2010, if you remember, there used to be the so-called prayer rallies, when Kenyans and the media were claiming that there was a lot of hate speech going on, and they were saying that Shetani Ashindwe was actually hate speech. We had conversations with the police, with DPP, to try and see how you'd successfully go to a court that is an independent institution and try and explain to the court that Shetani Ashindwe, that you're saying in that statement, is different from the one that is said in church and from the one that is said in a school somewhere to students who are deviant. So we have now completed a study, a scientific study of coded language and stereotypes that can be used as a basis of support for investigations to show that when these words are uttered in this region, this is generally what it means.
Okay,
so
Millie,
we
very
have
quickly,
done our bit.
I'll grant you that.
Thank you.
Very quickly, the citizens' role, as we said in the beginning. Tell me about advice, caution. What are we going to do about our own bad manners? SMS, blogs, social media. As even Lillian said, we are now overtaking the politicians in all this hate speech.
It's true. Kenyans are not proving to be as tolerant as you'd expect them to be. And Kenya is actually a very contradictory society, because the same number of people you find preaching peace, you find an equal number spewing hate.
Schizophrenia.
So it becomes a difficult challenge, but we keep constantly reminding them that we are watching them. They're being monitored by the relevant institutions, the relevant bodies. Information is flowing in. We are investigating a number of them. We hope, because Kenya is a society of iliwe funzo. Before there is funzo, we don't stop. So we want to prosecute some. We want to forward some for prosecution.
Let me flip this as we're out of time now. I need to close, but Lillian, what if we have to go for a runoff? First of all, is that good? Is it bad? Are we ready?
Well, with the tensions already rising,
you wouldn't want that.
Nobody would want a runoff. But in the event that we do not have the clear winner at the first round, the 50% plus one, the constitution is clear, we must go for the runoff. And
are you ready?
IEBC is ready. The government has assured us that there will be funds for the runoff. But of course, we know it came out in public, our Minister for Finance saying that people should maybe think twice about this runoff and vote wisely during the first round. But remember, this is democracy, and it has to be expensive, and we must have a clear winner, and that's what it is, a clear winner. Otherwise, then, you know, if we start with all these surveys, we are creating the tensions, and already some people feel they have a head start. Others feel already that there is defeat. I mean, these tensions can escalate to a situation we saw in 2007, remember?
Right.
It is a dispute of the presidential results that culminated in the violence. So we do not want to see that again. So we would be comfortable going for a runoff. As a commission, we are ready for that, and have a clear winner in the elections.
Millie?
For the good of cohesion and integration, it would be better if we did not have a runoff.
Did not.
We did not,
Right.
because then we will have to have two candidates. If it is to be the two horses, as they've been branded so far, Kenya will be much more ethnically polarized. Right now, you will see that almost all the different coalitions have got, if we are to speak tribe or community, have got Kikuyu Luo, a number of them. You look at the Mwite coalition, is they've
There's
tried
a good
to
mix.
yes, they've tried to break
Whether it's
it
honest
down.
or dishonest, but
Well,
there is a mix.
Yes, there is. So that kind of creates a spread where people feel that all communities are
Okay,
involved.
you'd rather not have it.
But when we go to the
What
runoff,
if, yes, in
it
the
will
event
have
that
to
we
be.
do?
But if we do, well, as cohesion and integration, we are ready. We are ready to continue to work with the communities to try and diffuse those ethnic tensions. We are ready to continue to work with the interfaith bodies to cultivate a culture of tolerance amongst the different people, and also to continue to monitor for the haters, both in social media and in public rallies.
Did you just say haters?
Yes.
Well, she's quite hip. Bugambi, runoff.
Runoff. Let me, yeah. Can I do runoff last and start? Because I have 5 quick points.
I'm all out of time.
Yes, 5 quick points. Very quick now.
I can promise to invite you back.
Okay, but 5 quick points.
Okay.
One is we need to learn to report our results better. A lot of what Millie has said, you didn't know, and you're part of the media. You've got tremendous successes. You've got tremendous successes. If he doesn't know about it, how is he going to message them?
And I've got a quicker turnaround time.
There
I
you
can
go.
do this today, tomorrow, next day.
So please, we've got to learn how to report results. I am also accused of the same in my own organization. So I also stand accused of the same. We need to learn how to report results better, because the communicators among us, if they don't know what we're doing, will keep on saying you're doing nothing. I think that's
In other
number one.
words, you have a brag sheet, it looks good, bring it
Bring
out.
it. That's number one. Number two, we must be referees. Proactivity. So don't just stand with the law. Go beyond, way beyond, go the extra mile and say, what is it in terms of enforcement I can do beyond the law? Because you already have the mandate. I think that's what we're asking. Do something beyond the law. I think that for me is very important. Balloting. It is good that you mentioned South Sudan. I'll give you another example. The Law Society. Out of 3,000 lawyers, they messed up 200 ballots.
Yes.
15%. So, hey, reality check here. So Southern Sudan are ahead of us. Let's deal with our reality. I think that's very important for me. Let's also then, before we get to runoff, the judiciary. We don't need to lift pangas because the judiciary can verify results.
Yes.
And therefore, you don't need to beat anyone. Piga kura, si usipige watu.
Yes.
I think that's a message. For runoff, for me it's counterintuitive. I hear Millie saying, talking about polarization. I think we already have 2 horses. So I'm looking at the next one, which is if someone gets 50% plus 1, they then will come and chest them and say, I have the people's mandate, therefore I don't need to listen to you. That has been the bane of our politics. That people do not use power to negotiate and use grace to negotiate. I think we need to invest more in creating the discourses that make us one fabric through negotiation.
Lillian, you've got a platform, use it. Bring your brag sheet. I'll be happy to hear it. Anything we can do to just get us ready. I don't want to operate from a position of bracing for adverse impact. So we need to bring out that brag sheet, but thank you for what you've shared tonight. Millie, I just need that ambiguity to go away. I just need to know this hate speech is not a clarity only you have. But bring out that brag sheet. I also want to have a look at it.
It's true.
And this constant synergies you have, they're not enough if Mwananchi doesn't see what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Civil society, there's been challenges about you being absent at critical moments, actually being a bit low in terms of presence this time around in the country. Well, you're being watched. And as usual, I'm happy to have the discussion about which way forward for you. So let's have the discussion going. I'm very happy to have had you tonight. And the countdown is there. Less than 13 days to go now. What is your role? What is your responsibility? What is your level of preparedness? Just remember, it's our country. We want to love it now, and we want to love it then, and we want to love it after. My name is Louis. Have a good night.